For the armhole, I have 20 stitches around the opening, but if you don't have 20 stitches, that's okay, because we can work with that. We can adjust it. So what we want to do, we want to attach the yarn at the bottom of the armhole. So grabbing your yarn, putting it over your hook and pulling through, and then just doing a chain stitch and pulling down on our short piece to secure it. Want to chain 3 and then work 1 double crochet into the same stitch, chain 1, and then 2 double crochets into the same stitch. And we're going to be working around the opening of the armhole. So we want to skip 2 stitches and then work into our next stitch and work 2 double crochets, chain 1 and 2 double crochets into the same stitch again, and then we want to skip another 2 stitches. That's 1, 2, making a double crochet into the next one and another double crochet. So we're working that V stitch again, or the shell stitch again, sorry. So that's 2 double crochets and a chain 1 and 2 double crochets. Let's adjust this camera a little bit. That's better. Okay, so we want to skip 2 stitches and working a double crochet into the next. Another one. Chain 1 and then 2 more into the same stitch. We want to repeat this all the way around the armhole until we get back to the beginning. So I'm nearly back to the beginning of the row, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 stitches left. So I'm going to have not the correct amount of stitches, but because this is under the armhole, it isn't going to matter too much, because the next row will be perfect. So this row I'm going to skip 2 stitches and I'm going to work into this one, which will only give me 1 remaining instead of 2, but you are not going to notice it. So we're just working our last shell into that gap. If you have enough stitches and it's perfect, then that's great. If not, just sort of space it out as even as you can. So we're back to the beginning shell, and we just want to join with a slip stitch into the top of the chain 3. So we now have one row around the arm. So for the next row, what we need to do is we need to slip stitch across. Sorry, trying to get in a good view so I can see it. We want to be working out of this chain 1 space, so we need to slip stitch across into the top of the next stitch with a slip stitch, and then into the chain 1 space with a slip stitch, and then chain up 3. And when we get back to the beginning, the next row will start exactly the same. So we want to work, so we've got a chain 3, which counts as our first double crochet, and we want to go into that chain 1 space with another double crochet, a chain 1, and then 2 more double crochets into the same space. So we have our shell, and now we just work around to our next shell space, and as normal just working into that chain 1 space. So we need to work about 5 rows of this. You can work more or less if you want, entirely up to you. Mine's come out premise size because of the wool I'm using, so I don't need as many rows because obviously little babies have little arms. So just working your way around and then joining with a slip stitch. So I've worked 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rows of shell, and we just need to sew our ends in. And now the next part, we want to thread our ribbon around the waist of the jacket, and we're going to thread it into the row above the first shell row, so it's our last row of double crochets that we did. So there's our first shell row and there's our last row of double crochets, and you need to get your ribbon, and we'll need it as long as the width around the jacket, and then we'll need a little bit extra so that we can tie a bow. So you just need to weave it in and out of this last double crochet row. And now you can weave it however you like, every stitch, every second, every third, so on and so on, until you get around to the other side. We're just going to weave it in and out of the stitches. I'm going to go every second. Like I said, entirely up to you how you want to do this part. And of course, because you're on camera, it doesn't go in properly. So we're just going to thread that through, and I'll finish this off and meet you around the other side. There we go. I've threaded the ribbon through, and I've just got to buy some buttons, sew them on, and we have a gorgeous little baby jacket.